The other thing I would want to differentiate between is maladaptive daydreaming. Now, for those who don't know what maladaptive daydreaming is, it is daydreaming, sometimes for hours on end, sometimes very vivid, immersive type feeling daydreams, but it's maladaptive because it's being used as an unhealthy coping mechanism, or sometimes it can like distract from your life. It can stop you from doing things in your life because you're daydreaming. And I have suffered from this. I suffer from it. It goes up and down. It depends on my life. So I can give an example. When I was at school, I didn't feel like I had many friends, or I didn't feel like I fitted in. And through like all of my schooling, through like all of my lessons, I was just always in this like daydream. Like when I was in a lesson or walking between lessons, I was in this daydream where I had some like cool group of friends, and I don't know, we were living in like a cool city or something. And that was going on in my head like for most of my teenage years at school. So for me, when I experience this maladaptive daydreaming, it's normally a way of filling a need that is not being delivered in your real life, or there's something like unsaid or unmet in my real life. So when I would experience like, I don't know, lying in bed for 3 hours doing a daydream, I've learned now to ask myself the question, well, what was the daydream trying to give you that you're not getting from your real life? And then you kind of have the power to like try to fix it, to go, okay, well, you know, if I'm daydreaming about having friends, you know, what do I need to do to make new friends? And this can be, you know, it can be pretty upsetting, because let's imagine that you're unhappy with work and you're daydreaming that you're in this really high paid job and you're wearing a suit and you're going out to dinner with colleagues or something. But you're doing that daydreaming whilst you're at school, whilst you're at work, and then you're performing poorly at work and school. The daydream can actually get in the way of you actually getting the thing that you want, that you need. So that would be my tip for anyone who is experiencing maladaptive daydreaming, would be to kind of think about what is the need that's being met. Because I think, although I'm not sure exactly the the science behind it, but I think that when you're in these immersive daydreams, there can be like a kind of like physiological response. Now I really don't know what I'm talking about, but I think there can be like hormones released, I think. So if you're daydreaming that, I don't know, like someone is giving you a hug, it can in some ways fill the gap, but not really. So how does this link to paracosms? So from my understanding of just a couple things that I've seen online, some people do maladaptive daydreaming about their paracosm. Now, I've never experienced this. Actually, all the different daydreams I've had over many years, I never ever daydream about chitasia or chutney. And actually, there are two types of paracosm. There are paracosms, and then there are post-traumatic paracosms. And the way that I've seen it described is, if you have just kind of regular paracosm, people feel like a sense of pride and joy about the paracosm, which I do. But if you're experiencing post-traumatic paracosm, it's often used in a way of like escapism. So I'm not really escaping when I do chitasia. I'm expressing myself. I'm living. I feel like I'm living. I'm having a whale of a time when I'm doing chitasia. But I understand that there is this more negative version of paracosm when people are using it to deal with some kind of traumatic or difficult experience that they've had. So that's an interesting distinction. The other thing that I feel comes into it sometimes is OCD, or OCD tendencies and perfectionism. So some people with maladaptive daydreaming, myself included, I do have OCD. When you're doing maladaptive daydreaming, it can feel like you're playing a script or a movie. And what can happen is, if you're playing the script and then somebody says a line wrong, and it doesn't feel right, and you have to go back to the beginning and you have to do it again from the top, and they're like, oh, okay, everybody's doing it right. That person said that thing wrong. Okay, back to the beginning, do it again. And there can be this, I suppose, a compulsion to get the script right. And the worst thing is that when you've got to the end and then somebody misses a line, you're like, damn it, I have to go back to the beginning and do it again. So again, I don't experience that with Gitasia, with my paracosm, but I'm aware that some people will experience that, do experience that. But I personally don't.